A lot to cover in this paper 2 revision for our year 10s, so without further delay, let's jump into it. Welcome to our paper 2 year 10 mock revision for both the higher and foundation paper. This video is divided into two parts. The first part will focus on revision for the higher paper, and the second part will focus on the revision for the foundation paper. This will be identified by a time code which will be placed exactly at the time where the foundation revision begins. In the description, you will find some very important links, such as the link for the worksheet covered in this revision. Also, you will find links to some lessons that I have recommended that you watch. So, let's begin with the higher paper. We begin with types of sequences. Match each sequence to its description. One has been done for you. So what we're going to do, we're going to just focus on each sequence and then match it to its word rather than reading them all at the same time. So for the first one, we've got 1, 2, 4, 8, 16, and 32. So to get from term 1 to term 2, we are multiplying by 2. We're also multiplying by 2 to get from 2 to 4. And same for 8, 16. So all terms are being multiplied by 2. Remember, this is a geometric sequence. So in a geometric sequence, each term is multiplied by the same number to give you the next term following in that sequence. You use your pencil and your ruler and you draw the matching line. So I've just pre-done that so that I get it neatly done. For the next one, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, clearly counting by adding 1. And we know when we've got a sequence where we're going up, adding the same number or subtracting, this is an arithmetic sequence. So we take our pencil and our ruler and we join that up. For the next one, we've got 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, and 21. So to get from 1 to 3, I'm adding 2. From 2 to 3, I am adding 3. From 3 to 6, I'm adding 3. From 6 to 10, I'm adding 4. So I can see I'm going up in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So that means this is a triangular sequence. So we match that with triangular numbers. Now 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, and 36 are all square numbers. So clearly this is the square number sequence. And then we've got 1, 8, 27, 64, 125, and 216, which are all cube numbers. And that's the last one left to match anyway. Beautiful. So that's a good revision of the different types of sequence we could have. Clearly we do have more sequences. All the terms of a geometric progression are positive. The second and the fourth terms are shown. So we're given 9 and 81 for the second and fourth. We're asked to work out the first and the third term. So this is term 1, term 2, term 3, and term 4. Again, we've just reviewed geometric progression, which means that we will be multiplying by the same number to get from one term to the other. So we've got the fourth and the second. So if we divide them, 81 divided by 9 is 9. We then need to square root this. The reason is there is a gap between them. So we need to find the square root of 9 so we get the term we're going up by. So we're going up by multiplication by 3. So if I do 9 times by 3, that gets me to 27. And I have to divide to go the other way. So 9 divided by 3 gets me 3. So then I write the first term is equal to 3. And the third term is equal to 27. So 3 and 27, you can just check back that quickly. 3 times 3 is 9. 9 times 3, 27. 27 times 3 gives me 81. We move on to our next question, which is percentage of amount. So we're told here that 4y is equal to 5x. Which statement is correct? tick one box. So we've got y equal 80% of x, y is 125% of x, x is 20% of y, or x is 400% of y. So key point here, what we need to do is to make y the subject of this equation. So if I divide both sides by 4, this 4 cancels out, so therefore y is equal to 5/4 of x. We can write that as a mixed number, so we get y is equal to 1 1/4, because there are 4 quarters there, that's 1 and 1 remainder, so 1/4. And we could write that as a percentage or a decimal. So 1 1/4 is simply 125% if we write that as a percentage. So we check here, we can see that is an option there. So it is the second option. Beautiful. So we go to the next question, which is on percentage change. So we're told that a new car costing, let's underline, 12,500 is sold for £6,000 after 3 years. What is the percentage change in value? So first of all, I think about the formula for percentage change. So percentage change, let's just write that down. Percentage change is equal to the difference or the change divided by the original number multiplied by 100 to convert it to a percentage. So what we need to do, we're going to just do, to get the difference or the change is equal to, we've got 12,500 and we need to subtract 6,000. So we need to put that in our calculator. So 12,500 take away 6,000 is equal to 6,500. So now we need to put that in our formula. So it is the change, which is 6,500, divided by the original, which is 12,500, and then multiply that by 100 to convert it to a percentage. So we've got 6,500, put that in our calculator, divided by 12,500 and multiplying that by 100, and that gets us to 52%. Beautiful. So we go to our next question. So we're told that a house increases in value from 95,000 to 120,000, and also to calculate the percentage change. So we know we must find the change, which is the difference between the two amounts. So I'm going to do 12,000, and then I need to subtract 95,000. Good idea is to count these zeros out so you don't make a mistake. Put that into our calculator. So 12,000 take away 95, so 120,000 take away 95,000, and that's equal to 25,000, so 25,000. So we know to put that in our formula. So the change is 25,000, and our original amount is 95,000. We then multiply that by 100. Put that back in our calculator, beauty of a calculator paper. So 25,000 times by 100, and then divide by 95,000. So we're just going to write our answer to one decimal place, so that's 26.3%. And that's how we find our percentage change. So it's the change divided by the original times by 100. We move on to our next question, which is on compound interest. So we're told here that a lake covers 12,000 meters square. It is losing, so underline that, it is losing 6% of its area each year. Work out the area of the lake after 5 years. So this is depreciation, and the reason is we are losing 6%. So what we need to do is to first of all work out what will our multiplier be. So we always start with 100%. We now need to subtract 6%, which is equal to 94%. Writing 94% as a decimal gets us our multiplier, so that is 0.94. And then we put our formula in. So it's going to be, the amount is going to be equal to what we start with, which is our principal, multiplied by 1, take away our rate percent, and then raise that to the number of years. So we put that for n. Okay, so we already worked out what our multiplier is going to be once we subtract from 100. So it's going to be 12,000 multiplied by 0.94, and the number of years is 5. So we put that in bracket, put that to the power of 5. So we're going to put that now in our calculator. So 12,000, and then we need to times by 0.94 to the power of 5, and the answer is 8806.8 if I round to 1 decimal place, and that is in square meters. So we go to the next question. We're told Bunty saves £500 at 4.5% annual interest. So we underline both of those. How many years must she save? So this time we want the years. How many years must she save her money to get more than £1,000? So first of all, I'm going to go ahead and write my multiplier again. So I've got 100, that's my start. I'm adding on to that 4.5%, which is equal to 104.5%. As a decimal, we will divide by 100, so 1, 2, so the multiplier is 1.045. So we're going to put that in our formula. However, remember, we want to find the number of years. So I want to get from £500 to 1,000. I can see that 1 year, 2 year wouldn't change a lot, so I'm just going to start at 5 years first of all. So year 5, what will that look like? So we start with 500. We know we need to do that multiplied by the multiplier 1.045, and we're raising that to the power of 5. So let's put that in our calculator, see how close we get to the 1,000. So it's 500 times by 1.045, and to the power of 5 we get 628.09. Still a little jump away, so I'm not going to do 6 or 7, that's far away. So let's try 8 years. So year 8, so it's 500 times by 1.045, this time raised to the power of 8. So I can just change the 5 in my calculator quickly to 8, and that's what you need to do as well. You don't need to type everything over, just change the power, and that will be very quickly done. So for year 8, it will just be 711.05. Again, still far away from 1,000. So I'm just going to keep changing the numbers and see which one gets me that. So change to, I'm going to try 9. Still far away. So let's just skip over to 12. So year 12, let's see what that gets us. So 5, so it's good to write down some so your examiner know what you have tried. So if we try year 12, I can see that for that one, it's still far away. So let's just go, in the interest of time, to year 16, see what that gets. As I said, just keep changing the powers. So 1.045 to the power of 16, I get 1011.19. So you can just keep writing them down. So now we see that we have gotten to a little bit over 1,000, which fits the criteria. So it is in the 16th year, so we need to write our answer down intelligently. So that is year 16, and then that was the money. So you just keep trying. You don't have to write out all the multiplication, just write year that the answer, year that the answer. Okay, beautiful. So we go to the next question. So it is on reverse percentages. So we're told here that in a sale, I paid £60 for a pair of trainers. I received 20% discount, so 60, 20% discount using my student card. How much would the trainers normally cost? So first of all, I need to find out this £60, what percent does it represent? So because it's a discount of 20%, that means it was 100 take away that 20, which is 80. It means that the £60 is equal to 80%. I can write that 80% as a decimal, which is 0.8. So original amount is equal to 60 divided by the percentage it represents. So remember, we are expecting to get a higher cost because clearly the price had to be higher, that when we get the discount we go down to 60. This is how we know we are correct. So we're just going to put that quickly into our calculator and see what we get. So we get 60 divided by 0.8, and that gets us to £75. Clearly 75 is greater than 60, so we know we are correct. Beautiful. So we go to the next question. Similar question. Lauren is given 12% pay rise. Her new salary is 24,080. What was Lauren's salary before the pay rise? So again, 12%, 100 plus 12 is 112. This can be written as 1.12. So we need to do 24,080 and divide that by 1.12. Quickly put that in our calculator. And that gets us 21,500. So the answer is 21,500. Beautiful. Liking this video will help this channel to grow. So please go ahead and give this video a like. So we continue with solving quadratics. So using the quadratic formula, or otherwise solve 3x squared plus x minus 5 equals 0. So the first thing we need to do here is to write out the quadratic formula. So x is equal to negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. Our next step is to write what is a, what is b, and what is c. So remember, a is the coefficient of x squared, so a is 3. B is the coefficient of the b term. Here we do not see the coefficient, which means it's 1, so b is equal to 1. And c is equal to minus 5. Remember to keep your sign. So now we're going to substitute that into the formula and then enter that in our calculator. Remember, we're going to get two values, one from the plus and one from the minus. So let's go substituting. X is equal to negative b, and b is 1, so that's minus 1, plus or minus the square root of b squared, and b is 1, so that's 1 squared, minus 4 times by a, which is 3, times by c, which is minus 5. Remember, do not forget your sign, and that's all over 2 times by a, which is 3. So now we're going to simplify the discriminant. Remember, the discriminant is the part that's under the root. So we're going to get two answers. It's going to be, x is going to be minus 1 plus the square root of whatever we work out under the root divided by 2 times 3, which is 6. The other solution is going to be x equal to minus 1 take away whatever we get from the discriminant divided by 6. So let's go ahead and work our discriminant out. So it's going to be, for the discriminant, 1 squared minus 4 times by 3 times by minus 5, and that gets us 61. So the discriminant is 61. So in your calculator now, you're going to put minus 1 plus root 61 divided by 6, and get an answer for x. I'm going to give my answer to 3 decimal places. So that is 1.135. Just go ahead now, go back on your calculator and just change the plus to a minus. That's easy to do to get the second solution. So the second solution is that x is minus 1.468. So those are our 2 solutions. Beautiful. So we move along. So now we're going to the graph of inequalities. We're told here that the shaded region shown on the grid is bounded by 4 straight lines. We observe our graph, we look at our scale, make sure we see what we're going up by. We're asked to find the 4 inequalities that define the shaded region. So what we're going to have to do is to take one line at a time and work out that inequality and then just write all 4 down. At this point, I pose to say, you could be asked to graph the inequalities. I specifically haven't done an example of graphing the inequalities because I've done a whole video on that. Guys, you need to make sure you watch this video. Make sure you watch this video. Make sure you watch it because some questions may ask you to graph it rather than read from the graph. That's very, very important. Okay, so we're going to make a start. What I'm going to do is to label the lines. So first one, we're going to call this one line 1. Next one, we call this line 2. Then line 3 and line 4. So we're going to work one line at a time. So the first important thing here to note is that all the lines are solid line. There is no broken line given. So we need to make a record that solid line means the value is included. So means included. Very important. Similarly to the circle on the number line that's shaded in tells us that the value is included. Same for the graph. So let's get the equation for graph 1 first. So we can see here horizontal line passing through y equals 6. So we're going to write line 1. So we've got y equal to 6. However, we need to write now the inequality. We get the inequality from looking, is the region that's shaded below or above the line? We can see here the region is below the line. So therefore, y is going to be less than, so open mouth turns away from y is less than or exactly equal to 6. So that's the inequality for the first one. So we go ahead and we are going to now look at the second line. So we observe our scale. The second line is vertical and it's halfway between -4 and -2. So this is -3. So that's where x is exactly equal to. So let's write line 2. That's where x is exactly equal to -3. To get the inequality, we need to see if the graph is shaded above or below that line. So we can see that the region that's shaded is to the right of line 2, which means that x is greater going to the positive. So the inequality is that x is greater than, open mouth turns to x, or it's exactly -3. Beautiful. We check that off. Now we're going to go to line number 3. So line number 3 is an oblique line. We can see here we're going to need to find the equation of a line in the form y equal mx plus c. So let's visualize that. So y equal mx plus c. So for this line, we're going to need the gradient m. And we're also going to need the y-intercept. It's the easiest part to find is the y-intercept, which is where the line crosses the y-axis. So the line crosses the y-axis at 1. So C is 1. Now to find our gradient from a graph, remember we draw a perfect right angle triangle. So I'm going to use this point along with the one I've plotted for the y-intercept. and I'm going to make the triangle here. Remember, gradient is equal to y divided by x. However, the line is sloped from left to right, which means we have a negative gradient. So if I start from here, this will be 1 down, which is minus 1 for y divided by 1, 2 across, which is positive 2. So the gradient of this line is negative 1/2. So let's make up the equation. The equation will be y equal to negative 1/2 x, and c is 1, so plus 1. Now that's the equation of the exact line, but we now need to pay attention to the region. So the region is above the line. Can see the region shaded here is above this line, so that means the region is greater than the line. So the inequality is y is greater than or equal to negative 1/2 x plus 1. So that's our third inequality. We go for line number 4. So we're going to see that we need to do the same principle. We need to find the y-intercept and also the gradient of that line. So again, line 4. Y equal mx plus c. So let's have a look. We can see here line 4 crosses the y-axis at 6. So the c value is 6. We now need to find the gradient. So m is equal to y over x. We need to draw a perfect right angle triangle. So I'm going to go here. This is a nice little point here, and also using the y-intercept I can make this triangle. So I've got 3 units down and I've got 1 along. So this is going to be y3x1. So the gradient is equal to 3. I can now put it all together. Y is equal to gradient 3, so 3x. Y-intercept is 6, so y equal 3x plus 6. What I need to do now is to find out if the region is above or below this line. So we can see here, looking at this line, the region is above the line, so y is greater than. So we're going to write that y is greater than, so open mouth turns to, and remember solid line, so it's greater than or exactly equal to 3x plus 6. Now we take that. What we need to do now is to just write them all together and show all of them at the same time. So for the first one, we have y is less than or equal to 6. The second one, so we have this one, put a star to say we wrote it down. Next one is x is greater than or equal to minus 3, put a star there. Then for the next one, we have y is greater than or equal to minus 1/2 x plus 1. And then for the last one we just did was y is greater than or equal to 3x plus 6. And there we have our 4 inequalities. So in the lesson I spoke about, we have drawn the graph and we've also done some more reading from the graph. So make sure that you go and revisit that lesson. Beautiful. So now we're going to move on to our next question, which is on vectors. So we're told here that ABCD is a quadrilateral. Clearly, quadrilateral means we've got 4 sides. So we're told that E, F, G, and H are midpoints on AB, BC, CD, and DA. So we identify those midpoints, midpoints, midpoint, midpoint. We're told that AH, A to H, is equal to A. Let's just put that on. So A to H, arrow goes in the direction based on where we're going. So this is A. And if it's the midpoint, we can conclude that HD is also A. Let's just put a little tick that we've done that. Now, we're told that AE, so let's find that AE is equal to B. So let's put an arrow here and write B. That means if this is the midpoint, EB is also B. So tick that off. Then DG is equal to C. So D to G, arrow goes in that direction, is equal to C, which means that GC is also C. Check that off. Prove using vectors that EFGH is a parallelogram. So what we're going to do, let's make the parallelogram by connecting these points. So EF, GH, so all of the midpoints connected together, we are proving whether or not this is a parallelogram. Now, if you look on the diagram here, you will see that we have all the sides. We have AB, we have AD, we have DC. The only one we don't have is BC. So we need to work out what is the vector BC. So let's go. So BC. So the vector BC, we have to plan our route. How do we get from B to C? So we have to travel from B to A. So that's going to be BA. Then we have to go from A to D. So plus AD. Then we have to go from D to C. So DC. So let's write down all of those in terms of the letters we had labeled. So to go from, remember, if you're going against the arrow, it's going to be a negative. If you're going in the direction of the arrow, it's going to be a positive. So we first need to go from B to A. We can see we're going against the arrow. So we've got B and B. So that's going to be minus 2B. Then we need to add that to A to D. We're going in the direction of the arrow, so that's going to be A plus A, which is 2A. Then we need to go from D to C, also in the direction of the arrow, so that's 2C. Beautiful. Now, importantly, we can see that that's all the distance from B to C. That's the answer we just get. So we're going to write minus 2B plus 2A plus 2C. However, from B to F is half of that distance. So let's just half these. So this is minus B plus A plus C. So divide by 2. That's what we get. So we're just going to label it on the diagram. So that's minus B plus A plus C. And also for the other side, minus B plus A plus C. So now we've got all our sides. Now remember, if this shape EFGH is a parallelogram, it means that we should have two sides that are matching, that are equal. So it's either EH and FG is the same, EF and HG is the same. So what we need to do is to now calculate each of the lengths of the sides of the parallelogram and see if we get two sides, two pairs of matching sides. So let's start by doing E to H. So we're going to find the vector EH. So to get from E to H, we have to travel the route of EA. So let's write that. EH is equal to EA plus, we have to go from A to H. So A to H. Let's write that down now in terms of the letters on the side. So from E to A, we can see we're going against the arrow, so that's minus B plus, we're going from A to H, which is in the direction of the arrow, so that's A. So the vector EH is minus B plus A. So now let's just put a little tick on that side. We now need to find, let's find FG and see what it is. So we need to go FG. So we need to plan our route. So to go from F to G, we need to go from F to C. So let's write that, F to C plus, we need to go from C to G, C to G. And then we write that in terms of the letters on the side. So F to C is minus B plus A plus C. We now need to add that to the route from C to to G, and we're going against the arrow, so that is minus C. So we just need to simplify now. We can see a positive C and a minus C cancels each other out. So this vector is minus B plus A. What do you notice? Already those two are exactly the same. So we just need to prove that the other two sides are also equal, and then we would have proven that it's a parallelogram. Or if not, so let's see. So let's tick that off. We now need to find the vector E to F. So we're going to find E to F for this side. So to go from E to F, we need to travel the root of EB. So that's equal to E to B, plus we need to go from B to F. So B to F. Going to write that down now in terms of the letters. So E to B, we're going in the direction of the arrow, so that's B, plus from B to F, it's now going to be minus B plus A plus C. So that's the bit that we wrote here. This can be simplified. So a positive B and a minus B cancels out. So that will cancel out to 0. So the simplified answer there is A plus C. So let's check that off. We now need to find out to get from H to G. So let's plan our route. To get from H to G, we have to go from H to D. So let's write that's equal to H to D. Plus, we need to go from D to G. From D to G. So H to G in the direction of the arrow, that's A. And D to G also in the direction of the arrow. So that is equal to C. We can see that EF and HG are also the same. So let's check that all off. So to conclude, we have now proven, yes, this is a parallelogram. So let's put it nicely now. We're going to say, yes, it is a parallelogram. I'm just going to draw a parallelogram here in the interest of time, but you can write the words out as, so let's write the matching ones as EH equal to FG and EF is equal to HG. Now that should give you a really beautiful picture of how you go about calculating any vector that you're given. We did a lot of calculation there, planning our route, how do we get from one to the other, and also following the direction of the arrow is a positive and going against the arrow is a negative. Absolutely fantastic there. So our next question is on mean. We're told that Mark ran a mean distance of 13.2 kilometers in 5 days. The next day, Mark ran 20 kilometers. I don't know why I'm mixing up myself, guys, but I'm tired. Find the mean distance Mark ran in the 6 days. Beautiful. So the first thing we need to do is to find the total of all the days that he ran. We can do this by multiplication. So what we're going to do, let me just get my calculator up. We want to find out the total that he's traveled. So we're going to do 13.2, put that in your calculator, times by the 5 days. So 13 points, so I didn't underline my 5 days there. That gives me 66. So therefore, what we need to do is to add the new distance that he ran, which is 20, to that, and then now calculate the mean for 6 days. So the total will then be equal to, just going to do 66 here plus this 20, which gives me 86. I now need to find the mean of 6 days now, which is 86 divided by 6. Put that back in my calculator. So 86 divided by 6 gets me to 14.3333. So I'm just going to write 14.3, put my dot to show recurring kilometers. Beautiful. Now we go to revise just 3 questions on indices. We're doing fractional. So we're told here to work out the value of 27 to the power of 2/3. Remember, Denominator tells me my root, numerator tells me my power. So in essence, I'm doing the cube root of 27. When I get my answer, I'm going to raise that to the power of 2. So the cube root of 27 is 3, and 3 squared is equal to 9. So that's my answer. For the next question, I'm then finding the fourth root. So doing the fourth root of 10,000, and then we will cube our answer. So we go ahead, we put fourth root 10,000, and then when we get our answer, we should cube that. So the fourth root of 10,000 is 10, and then when we cube that, the answer is 1,000. Absolutely fantastic. Now for the next one, we notice here we've got a negative power. Remember, a negative power has nothing to do with negative numbers. It means we have a reciprocal. So this means 1 over the fifth root of 32, and then we need to do that to the power of 4. So that's equal to 1 over fifth root of 32 is 2, and we need to do that to the power of 4. So that gets us 1 over 2 to the power of 4 is 16. So the answer is 1/16. Absolutely fantastic. Liking this video will help this channel to grow. So please go ahead and give this video a like. Now we move on to simultaneous equations. So in a shop, 2 coffees we underline. So 2 coffees and 3 cakes cost £9.95. In the same shop, 1 coffee and 4 cakes cost £10.35. Work out the price for 1 coffee and the price for 1 cake. Now we got to pick this simultaneous equation out of the words. Now guys, I've only done this one question on simultaneous equations, and also that's because you can watch this video. Make sure you watch that video where I've done solving by elimination method and looking at where we need to modify 2 of the equations or modify 1 to make the coefficients the same, and so on. It will be worth it for you to watch that so you can manipulate whatever one that you get. Make sure you watch that video. So we're going to, if we notice here, the coffee starts with C and cake start with C. So what I'm going to do is just to use the letter D for the cakes, because we cannot have 2 sets of C's in the equation. So we write 2C, so that's 2 coffee, plus 3D for the cakes, and that's equal to 9.95. Then in the same shop, 1 coffee, so that's just C, and 4 cakes, which is 4D, is equal to 10.35. Now we need to solve this equation, so we need to eliminate one of the terms. I can see here the C's are not the same, neither is the D's. It is much easier to just scale this one up by multiplying by 2, and then we'll get the C's to also be the same. So let's just make a new equation. 2 times C is 2C, plus 4D times 2 is 8D, and then we need to multiply 10.35 times 2. So I'm going to use my calculator. I don't want to mess this up. You should use your calculator as well. So we get 20.70. Remember, it's money. Now I'm going to bring back the first equation here so that the 2 C's are together, and that's equal to 9.95. So let's go ahead. We're going to subtract because the C's are exactly the same. So if we subtract, we'll eliminate the C term. So 8D take away 3D is equal to 5D. And then I'm just going to do in my calculator 20.70 take away 9.95. And that gets me to 10.75. I'm just going to go straight ahead, keep that value in the calculator, just press divide by 5. So D is £2.15, and remember that's the cakes. So I'm just going to go ahead and write here cake equal to, because I don't want to mess up my final answer. So I put that there. Now I need to find the cost for a cake. So a coffee, sorry. I need to find the cost for a coffee. So I'm just going to rewrite one of the equation. Easiest one to write is the one with C. So I'm just going to write C plus 4D equal to 10.35. I know the cost of the cake, which is D in this situation. So I'm going to substitute that in. So C plus 4 times by 2.15 for the cake is equal to 10.35. So we know that. Let's just multiply that on our calculator quickly. 2.15, and we multiply that by 4. That gets us a C plus 860 equal to 10.35. So we need to subtract £8.60 from both sides. So 10.35, put that in, take away 8.60, and that gets me 175. So C for coffee is equal to £1.75. Remember, you can prove your answer, just substitute them into these equations C and D. See if you get 9.95. Do that, make sure you use your calculator, check. You'll know if you did something wrong. Beautiful. So we are moving on to ratios. We're told here that last year a family recycled 800 kilograms of household waste. 57% of this waste was paper and glass. Weight of paper recycled to the weight of glass recycled is 12:2. So let me just write out straight away. So paper, I'm just going to write paper to glass is 12:7. And then we are asked to calculate the weight of the glass the family recycled. So our first step here, get my calculator ready for that. My first step here is to find what is 57% of the total here. So I need to do, I can just calculate a paper, use a multiplier. So it's 800 times by, multiplier will be 0.57. Put that in my calculator. So 0.57 times by 800, which gets me to 456. So we check that off. Our next step now is to add our ratio parts together. So adding these together, the total parts will be 12 plus 7, which is equal to 19. So I need to now divide this 456 divided by 19 to get one part. So one part of the ratio is equal to, so I've got that answer left in my calculator. Can just press divide by 19. And that's equal to 24. So now I need to work out just for the glass, because that's what I was asked. So the glass would be equal to that 24, which you got in your calculator still, multiplied by 7. So times by 7. And that's equal to 168 kilograms. Beautiful. So make sure that you follow the processes in a clear and logical way, and you will get your answer. So now we go to functions. So we're asked here, we're told here to describe the transformation from y equal f of x to y equal f of x plus 2. So let's look at them one at a time. Now, important to note here, whenever there is a change to a function and that change happens within the bracket, it is the x coordinate that's affected. So change within the bracket, the x coordinate is affected. Now, it's not what you think. When we have a positive, this means that we're going to go to the left. So positive change, you move to the left. It's the opposite of what you think. And negative change, we move to the right. Okay, so we can see here that we've got plus 2. So this means, I've just put that in, this reduces the x values by 2. So what we need to write is the coordinates. So what will be the translation? So remember, x is affected. So the coordinates here will be -2 for x. So we're going to go 2 places to the left. The y value remains the same. Beautiful. So all you have to do is to think. First thing, is the change inside the bracket? If the answer is yes, it is the x value that's affected. If it's positive, it's a change to the left, 2 units to the left, and the y remains the same. But if the change happens outside the bracket, it's the y value that's affected and x remains the same. So for the next question, y will increase by 3. So our value here, x doesn't change, but y will be moving 3 places upwards. That's a positive. If it's going to be a minus, then y will be going down. So again, the change happens here inside the bracket to this graph. Remember, a minus means that there's going to be a positive change. So increase of x by 1. So this now will be 1 and y doesn't change, so that's 1, 0. Last one happens outside the bracket, which means that y is affected. So y reduces value by 5. So x remains the same, so that's 0 for x. And then we have -5 for y. So x remains the same, -5 for y. So then we move on to the next question. So remember, our x value always comes first. Get my calculator. No, I don't need my calculator yet. Okay, so we move to the next one on functions. So let's see, I would say pause the video now, have a go at these questions and see, would you be able to say what happens here if we are translating the graph by 4, 3, and the change here is happening inside the bracket 2. That means x is affected. Remember, positive. What happens? You think, what happens when there's a positive change of x? What direction do I go and how is this affected? And so forth. Okay, so for the first one, let's have a look. So what effect will the following transformation have on these points? So I've just pre-put this in just for the interest of time. So I can see here that the change happens within the bracket by +1, which means that we are going to do the opposite of that, so -1. So it's +4 and -1, and then y remains the same. So +4 minus 1 is 3, so that will be 3, 3. Now we go, let's just go across. So again, x is affected, is going -1, so that's 6 minus 1, and that's going to be -5. So sorry, 6 minus 1 is 5, and then we've got -4, so it's 5 minus 4. For the next one, the change is on the outside of the bracket, so x remains the same, y is affected by -1. So we get 4 for x still, and then 3 minus 1 is 2 for y. On the other hand, again, x remains the same, so we get 6, and then we have -4 minus 1, which is -5. Okay, just do that again. Make sure you check your values correctly. Now, we've got a change. In the bracket, we've got -x. So all we need to do is just do the opposite of what we have for x here. Y remain unaffected, so we're just going to have -4 and 3. And for the other side, x is going to be the opposite of +6, and y remains the same. So it's just going to be -6 and -4. Okay, so remember, key point takeaway from this little question: if a change happens to a function in a graph inside the bracket, it's the x value that's affected. If we have a positive, you must do the opposite of that. If you have a negative, you must do the opposite of that, but the y remains the same. But if the change happens outside of the bracket here, like in this question, then it's the y coordinate that's affected, x remains the same, and that value remains exactly what it is for y. It's not inverted like x, because x is a translation while y is going to go either up or down. Okay, so we move now to our next question, which is on error intervals. So we're told here to one decimal place, the radius of a circle is 6.5 centimeters. Work out the lower bound of the area of the circle. Now, because this is to one decimal place, just imagine 6.5, that means something was here that made us have to round up to 5. So that means to get our upper and our lower bound, we are adding and subtracting 0.05. So we need to add and subtract 0.05. So that's to get our boundaries. So 6.5 plus 0.05 gets us to, of course, calculator paper, you could just easily put that in. So let's write the 6.5 in the middle. Let's get our lower bound here and our upper bound here. So we know our upper bound we've just added, so the upper bound will be equal to, just write it underneath, 6.55, and then the lower bound is going to be 6.45. Okay, so we're going to find the area now, and it asks us for the lower bound, so we need to use the lower bound. So we get the area of a circle we know is pi r squared. So we need to do pi times by, lower bound is 6.45, and we need to square that. Put that in our calculator now. So pi times by 6.45 squared. And you check your values on your calculator, make sure you enter the correct thing. So that's 130.7 centimeters squared to one decimal place. Absolutely brilliant. Now the next question asks us to work out the upper bound for the circumference of the circle. So we're thinking of the formula. Circumference is equal to 2 pi r, or pi times diameter. Now it's the upper bound we want, so clearly we have to use the upper bound of our interval. So it's going to be 2 times by pi times by the radius, which we're going to use as 6.55 this time. So we put that in our calculator. 2 times by pi times 6.55. Just going to write our answer to one decimal place. So we got 41.15. Rounding that up, I get 41.2, and that's the 1 dp. And it didn't get a U, so centimeters and centimeters squared. So key point here, remembering when we have to one decimal place, we're adding and subtracting 0.05. So depending on what is the degree of accuracy, the value was rounded to. Okay, another question on error interval, but this time it involves two different values and also rounded to two different degree of accuracy. So we're told here that P is equal to 3.9 to one decimal place and Q is equal to 0.33 to two decimal places. Work out the lower bound for P squared divided by Q, giving your answer to 6 significant figures. So we need to do the same as we've done before. So we need to write, so again, this one is to one decimal place. So we're going to add and subtract 0.05. just like we did in the question before. Now this one is to two decimal places. Hope you figured it out. So this one is going to be adding and subtracting 0.005. Okay, so just like I did before, 0.33, there would be something after that one. So clearly we would now need to go one more place value. Okay, so we're going to write down the upper bound and the lower bound. So lower bound, upper bound. So let's go for P first. So we got 3.9. If we add for the upper bound, that's going to be 3.95. And so the lower bound will be 3.85 for P. So this is for P. We now need to do same for Q. So for Q, we will have 0. Let me just write upper bound, lower bound. So the upper bound, 5 will just be at the end, so that's 0.335, and the lower bound would be 0.325. Now we want the lower bound of P squared over Q. Now remember, if I want the lower bound, this means the lowest possible value I could get. So that means a small number divided by a large number would give me the smallest possible value. So let's do it again. A small number divided by a large number will give me the smallest possible value. But guys, if you're not sure, just combine each of them and see which one gives you the smallest value. So P squared. So I want the smallest value of P. So I have to use the lower bound. So it's going to be 3.85 squared, and I have to use the upper bound of Q, so that's 0.335. Now we just simply need to put that in our calculator. That will be the smallest value. So let's go. We're doing 3.85 squared, and we're dividing that by 0.335, and that gets us to 4. So what I'm going to do, I'm just going to write it all out and then round to 6 significant figures, because that's what we're asked to do. So 4424628, and then round from there. So 1 2 3 4 5 6, check. I must round up. So 4.246, this 2 now becomes 3. 1 2 3 4 5 6, and that is 6 SF, significant figures. Absolutely brilliant. As I said, if you think you don't know which 2 to combine, just do the upper bound divided by lower bound of P and Q and do it the other way around, and then see which is the smallest of them all, because you want the lowest possible value. Absolutely brilliant. So now we go to linear graphs. We're going to focus first of all on parallel lines. Now, the equation of a line A is 2y equals 6x plus 8. Another line B is parallel, so we underline that. It's parallel to the line A and passes through the point 5, 10. Find the equation of the line B. Now, importantly to note here is that 2 lines are parallel if they have the same gradient. So first thing we need to do is to find the gradient of the first line A. If you notice here, this line is not in the form y equal mx plus c. So we cannot write the gradient down unless we rearrange the line, the equation, to make y the subject. So let's rearrange it. So 2y is equal to 6x plus 8. I can see here that to make y the subject, I can just divide all the equation by 2. So divide by 2, divide by 2, divide by 2. I get y equal to 3x plus 4. So the gradient of line A is equal to 3, which means the gradient of line B will also be 3. So let's start for line B. M for the gradient is equal to 3 as well, because 2 parallel lines, the gradients are the same. So far I know the gradient. So let's go y equal to 3 for the gradient, x plus c. Remember, we need the gradient and the y-intercept to make the equation of any straight line. So I was given a point on the line B. So if I substitute x and y, so 5 for x, 10 for y, I can find what c is. So let's go and substitute. So instead of y, I'm going to put 10 equal to 3 times by x, which is 5, add c. So this is 15 add c equal to 10. So 10, we need to subtract 15. So minus 15 is equal to C. So 10 take away 15, that's minus 5 equal to C. Now I have the gradient and the y-intercept. I could just put them together. So y then is equal to, my gradient was 3. We know we have to put our x, and our y-intercept is minus 5. So there we have it. Y equal 3x minus 5 is the equation of B. Absolutely brilliant. So we move on to another linear graph, but this time we're working on perpendicular lines. So we're told here that the line L1 shown in the figure has the equation 4x minus 3y equals 6. The line L2 passes through the origin. Very important information there, and is perpendicular to the line L. You can see here that line 1 and line 2, they do form a right angle when they meet, so hence they are perpendicular. We're asked to find the equation of line 2. So just like we talked about the parallel lines, we said two lines were parallel if the gradients are exactly the same. Now if two lines are perpendicular, the gradients are the negative reciprocal of each other. So first step here is to work out the gradient of line 1, because we notice it's not in the form y equal mx plus c. So let's go ahead and find the gradient of line 1. So m for gradient, m of line 1, we must rewrite the equation. So 4x minus 3y is equal to 6. I need to make y the subject. Easy one here is to put minus 3y here and bring the 6 to the other side. It's okay to have y on the right. So 4x, this positive 6 will now be minus 6 equal to, this minus 3y will now be positive. We can still see that y is not the subject, so I need to divide by 3 on both sides so that y is the subject. So 3y divided by 3 is y, and then I will just keep 4/3 x for the gradient here is 4/3, and then minus 6 divided by 3 is minus 2. So the equation of the first line L1 is y equal 4/3 x minus 2. So the gradient of M1, I'm just going to call it M1, is 4/3. Now remember, the gradient of the other line will now be the negative reciprocal. So let's call M2. So this gradient will be inverting 3 and 4, but it has to be negative. Remember, when two gradients are multiplied together that are perpendicular, the product will be negative 1. So I'll just show you that quickly. 4/3 times by minus 3/4. Can see here, numerator we get negative 12, denominator we get 12, dividing them we get minus 1. This is how we prove two gradients are perpendicular. So now I know the gradient of line 2. I now need to find out the equation. So let's write what we know. Y equal to negative 3/4, and we know we must put x. Now key point here, the graph passes through the origin. We know the coordinate of the origin, the y-intercept is 0. So let's just write plus 0 just to visualize that. However, 0 added to any number or any value is still the number. So we can just write equation then is y equal minus 3/4 x. Nothing for the y-intercept, as 0 will not change the value of what we wrote before. Absolutely brilliant. So good that you've gotten this far in the video, guys. I'm so proud of you. I'm absolutely proud of you. Thumbs up to you. We continue with direct proportion. So h is directly proportional to p squared. We underline that. It's directly proportional. H is 50 when p is equal to 10. Work out an equation connecting h and p. 3 marks. So we go ahead and we write, we're told that h is directly proportional to p squared. Remember, they will be linked by a constant which we use the letter K to represent. So we can conclude that H will be equal to the constant K times by P squared. So our first step here is to find out what is this constant K, what's the value. Now we are given two values, one for H, one for P. If we substitute them into this equation, we can find out the value for K and hence develop the equation that links them. So H is 50, let's replace H for 50. That's equal to K times by P. P is 10. We need to do the square of 10. So 10 squared is 100. 100 times K is 100K, and that's equal to 50. We then need to divide by 100 to get what is the value of K. So K then is equal to 50 divided by 100 is a half, which we can write as 0.5. So therefore, we now know the value of K. So the equation is going to be that H will always be equal to, we're going to now replace K with the value, which is 0.5 and P squared. So the equation that links them is H is equal to 0.5 P squared. Beautiful. Now, if a question doesn't ask you to find the equation that links them, that is still the first thing you need to do for all questions on direct or inverse proportion. You always find K and always make up the equation that links them. So now we're going to answer part B of that question. Part B says work out the value of H when P is equal to 6. Now, because we know the general equation that links them, let's start with that. 0.5 P squared. So we want to find what H is. So H is equal to 0.5 times by P squared, and P is 6. Remember, it's a calculator paper, guys. Don't rely on your memory. 6 times 6 is 36. So we need to remember multiplying by a half is the same as dividing by 2. But you have your calculator anyway. So 0.5 times by 36. Or you could just put that all in your calculator. The answer to that is 18. Now we move to the next question, which is on inverse proportion. So we're told here that J is inversely proportional to root F. J is 12 when F is 9. Work out an equation connecting J and F for 3 marks. Then we look at part B. So we start off by doing J is inversely proportional. Remember, this time it's going to be 1 over the root of F. So inverse proportion, 1 over. That means J is always going to be equal to K divided by root F. So remember, in the first one, it was multiplication. Now it's division. So K divided by root F. Now we can find out what K is by substituting the values we have for J and for F. So let's go to find what K is. So J is 12. That's equal to K divided by the square root of F, which is given to be 9. So 12 is equal to K over root 9 is 3. So by multiplying, 1 times K is K, and 12 times 3 is 36. So the value of K is 36. So we're going to replace that in the equation that we wrote here to find the equation that links them. So we conclude the equation connecting them is that J will always be equal to replacing the K with the actual value 36 divided by the square root of F is the general equation that links them. Now we go on for part B, which says work out the value of J when F is 4. So we're going to just rewrite our formula that links them. So J is 36 divided by root F. So I want to find J. So J is equal to 36 divided by square root of F, which is given to be 4. So we're in essence doing 36 divided by square root of 4 is equal to 2. So therefore we are halving 36 also is 18. Again, you use your calculator for even the simplest of value. Under pressure, guys, you will make mistakes, and that's what we don't want to have. Amazing. So now we go to functions and we're looking at inverse functions. So we're told here that f of x is equal to 5 over x plus 10 and g of x is equal to the square root of 2x cubed minus 3. First, in part A, we're asked to find the inverse, so f inverse of x, which is the inverse of the function f of x. Step 1 to finding the inverse of a function is to set the function f of x to y. So instead of f of x, we're going to write y equal to 5 divided by x plus 10. Now what we want to do is to rearrange this equation to make x the subject. So to make x the subject, I need to do the inverse of division by x plus 10. So I'm going to do y multiplied by x plus 10, and that's equal to 5. Now I want to make x the subject. So if I notice here, a multiplication is happening between y and x plus 10. So to get x on its own, the first thing I need to do is to divide both sides by y. So the y's cancel out here, leaving me with x add 10 equal to 5 divided by y. Now I need to get x on its own, so I need to do minus 10 from both sides. So therefore, x on its own is equal to 5 divided by y minus 10. Now, last step is to interchange x for y. So therefore, y is equal to 5 divided by x. Please, guys, do not forget to do your interchange. Now we're going to write that. We're going to rewrite this now as f inverse of x is equal to 5 divided by x minus 10. Beautiful. You have to remember to reverse them and do x, replace x with y. Okay, make sure that you do that. So now we're going to look at the inverse of g. So g inverse of x. So step 1, we start. So I'm going to do that one here by rewriting g of x as y equal to square root of 2x cubed minus 3. So we want to now make x the subject. So I can see here I do not yet have access to x because it is within the square root. So I need to break that through by doing the square of both sides of the equation. So I'm going to do y squared and I'm going to square the square root. Remember, squaring a square root removes the root and leaves us with just the values that were in the root. So we now have y squared is equal to 2x cubed minus 3. Now I need to make x the subject. So in order to do that, I need to add 3 to both sides first. Write this tidy. Y squared plus 3 will now be equal to, this is cancelled out, so 2x cubed. Now I need to take care of the 2, the coefficient. So I need to divide both sides by 2 to get x cubed on its own. So therefore, this cancels out, leaving me with y squared plus 3 divided by 2 equal to x cubed. I hope you recognize that now we need to do the cube root, which is the opposite of cubing. So I need to just do the cube root of both sides. And when I do that, I will now have x on its own. So let's put our answer here. I'm just going to carry on here. So I've got x then would be equal to the cube root of y squared plus 3 all over 2. So the root is over the entire thing. So I'm just fixing that a little bit further down and then just erasing that bit. So it's very important to note, guys, all of this bit has to be in the root. So now we need to just write g inverse of x is equal to, remember we have to interchange x for y, so then it's going to be the cube root of x squared plus 3 over 2 for our final answer. You must remember to interchange the y for x back into the equation. You are given x, not y. Watch this bit as much as you need to. Make sure that you understand this very clearly, how to find the inverse of a function. Absolutely fantastic here. You know how to change the subject of a formula, so you're just applying the principle. So we go to area of shaded regions. We're told here that the diagram shows a circle of radius 5 centimeters inside a square. We're asked to work out the area of the shaded region. So first of all, I need to apply the information here. The radius of the circle, so let's put that here, is 5 centimeters. So therefore, the distance all the way across is going to be 10, which means that along the square is 10, and if this is a square, all the sides are 10 as well. So I can reason here, in order for me to find the area of just the shaded region, I need to find the area of the entire square and also the area of the circle, and then subtract them. So let's go ahead and find the area of the square first of all. So area of square is equal to 10 times by 10, so that is equal to 100 centimeters squared. I then need to find the area of the circle as well. So area of circle is equal to pi times by the radius squared, and the radius is 5, so it's 25 pi. Now we can just write area of shaded region is equal to 100 take away 25 pi. Shouldn't leave your answer like that on a calculator paper. You wouldn't get it wrong, but just look for if they've asked you, give it to 1 decimal place. But this here is the raw value, so if you left it like this, that would be okay. But let's just put this in our calculator and also just write down what it would be as a decimal as well. So we need to do 100 take away 25 pi. So we can just write, or the answer to 2 decimal places is 21.46 centimeters square. So this is the most accurate answer in terms of pi, but also you could just write that down to 2 decimal places as well. And that's for 4 marks. Beautiful. Now we go to rearranging formula. You must agree that we have done some element of rearranging formula when we were doing the inverse of our function. Absolutely brilliant. So we're asked here to rearrange the following equation to make x the subject. So we've got y equal 5x plus 1 divided by 2x plus 5. First thing that jumps out at me here is that there are 2x in this equation that they've asked me to make the subject. That should give you a line of thought already. So let's start working the question. Y equal 5x plus 1 divided by 2x plus 5. So step 1, let's just put this over 1, balance the fraction, and then we're going to cross multiply. So y times 2x plus 5. So we're going to just put that in a bracket first and then expand the bracket so that we don't forget that both variables, or both terms rather, should be multiplied by y. And then 1 times any number or quantity remains the same. So now we need to expand our bracket so that we can get our x term available to us for grouping with the other x term. So y times by 2x is 2xy, and y times by 5 is positive 5y, and that's equal to 5x add 1. Now, because there are 2 x terms on either side, we must collect the like terms. So we need to group the x terms together, and then we will be able to factorize. So I'm going to put my positive 5x here, which means that my positive 5y will need to be on the other side. So 2xy, this positive 5x is now minus 5x when I bring it to the other side. And then I've got 1 this positive 5y will now be minus 5y. So now I need to factorize to get x on its own outside the bracket. So highest common factor of 2xy and minus 5x is x, so factor x out. I will now have 2y left, and then minus 5. I check 2y times x is 2xy, and x times minus 5 is minus 5x, and that's equal to 1 minus 5y. Now, because I'm multiplying by what's in the bracket, I need to divide both sides by what's in the bracket. Now doing that will make x be on its own. So this cancels out here. So x then is equal to 1 minus 5y divided by 2y minus 5. Now I have made x the subject of the equation. Absolutely fantastic. Okay, so therefore we're going to move on to our next question, and this question is the final question for the higher paper. So we're told that a ship is sailing in a straight line from its home port. The distance time graph shows 4-hour journey. So we observe our graph. We can see on the x-axis we're going up in increments of 1 hour, and then on the y-axis our distance is going up in increments of 20 miles. We're asked to work out the speed of the ship during these 4 hours. First line of thought should be what speed is equal to. So let's get our triangle. We know distance is always at the top and speed and time at the bottom. So speed is equal to distance divided by time. So what we need to do is to find that on the graph. So we're going to find out 2 points on our graph. We can use, it's similar to finding the gradient of your graph if you're going to be using coordinates. For example, y2 take away y1 divided by x2 take away x1. So it's the same principle. So in essence, we're using the gradient formula for 2 points on a line. So I'm going to observe that if I'm going up in terms of 20s and there are 5 spaces in between, this means that 20 divided by 5, which is 4, tells me that each small line is worth 4. So let's write down the coordinates for this point here. This is going to be 44, this is 48. So we have 0, 48. 0, 48 for 1 point that we're going to use, and the next one will be, so we've got 4 for x, and the corresponding y, it's just 1 below 20, so that has to be 116. So we're going to do the y's, which is the distance. So we're going to do our distance divided by time in terms of our coordinate. So we need to do 116 take away 48. Divide that, so we're doing our 2 distances, which is our y's, and taking away 4 take away 0. So that's our hours. So we just need to put that in our calculator now and see what we get. So 116, let's punch that in, take away 48, that gets us to 68, and then 4 take away 0 is 4. So 68 now divided by 4 gets us to 17. So that is, the speed is 17 miles per hour. Absolutely fantastic. I'm absolutely proud of you guys. I am literally so proud of you for just taking the time to do some independent practice. Absolutely brilliant. Now the second part of this video is for the foundation students. So foundation students, we begin with estimation and rounding. So by rounding each number to the nearest 10, estimate the value of 31 times 18. So first of all, we're going to write 31 and we're going to write what it's rounded to. So the 3 is in the tens place, so this is estimated to 30. 18, 1 is in the tens place. We look behind, we see we need to round up, so this is estimated to 20. So therefore we are doing 30 multiplied by 20. Remember, it's your calculator paper, guys. Do not take risks. So 20 times 30 is 600. So the answer is 600. But guys, you must use your calculator for that. For the next question, we're asked to round 2,445 to the nearest 100. So we find which digit is in the hundredths place, which is 4. We check the digit behind to see if we should round up or down. We need to round down, so that's 2, 4. These will round down to 0. So the answer is 2400. And that would have been 4 marks for those 2 questions. We then move on. Another estimation, but a bigger calculation. So by rounding each number to the nearest 10, now some questions will not tell you to round to the nearest 10, but you must always round to one significant figure. So 7, 8, one significant figure is 7 is in that position. So we can round up to 80 for that one. So that's 80. Then we have 11.6, first significant figure, or the nearest 10 is 1. We check the digit behind, we must round down, so this rounds down to 10. And then we've got 39. 3 is in the tens place, which is the first significant figure, so 9 after, this rounds up to 40. Now that we have all our numbers, we're now going to put them back in the calculation. So 80 times by 10 divided by 40. You can put that all at once in your calculator. So we will get here 800 divided by 40. Put that in your calculator. That gets us to 20. Make sure you pay attention to that. It's 3 marks. Beautiful. Next we go to highest common factor. So we are asked to work out the highest common factor. So even if you know it, guys, it's 2 marks. You need to show evidence of your working. So work out the highest common factor of 28 and 35. Remember, highest common factor is the largest factor that's common to both numbers. So the first thing to show you're working, we can just list the factors of 28 and 35 and then pick the largest one. So it's easier to do in our factor pairs. Let's get them in our factor pairs. So we're going to do 1 times 28, 2 times by, so 2 times by half of 28 is 14. 3 doesn't go into 28, so let's go to 4. 4 times 7. So the factors of 28, 28 is equal to, get them from the top all the way around, 1, 2, 4, 7, 14, and 28. We need to do the same for 35. So 35 have less factors, so it's 1 times 35. And then we don't have 2, 3, 4, so it's just going to be 5 times by 7. So factors of 35 is 1, 5, 7, 35. 1, 5, 7, and 35. So we need the largest factor common to both of them. We can see that is equal to 7. So we put our 7 on the answer line. We could have also have done the prime factor tree as well, but we'll get opportunity to revise that. So let's move on. So the next question is prime factorization. So you could have used this as well. So we're asked here to write 88 as a product of its prime factors in index form. Very important. So this is where we make our factor tree. So we need 2 factors of 88. So we could start with 2 and 44. Remember, we're looking for the prime numbers. So 2 is a prime number. We circle that. We could also do 4 and 11. So none of these, 11 is a prime number, sorry. So we need to break 4 into 2 times by 2. All we need to do now is to simply collect our answer. So if you look here, we've got 3 2s, so that's 2 times 2 times 2, and 11 here. We need to write it as a product of its prime, but before we do that, just check quickly that this is true. 11 times 2 is 22. 22 times 2 is 44. Times by 2 is 88, so that's correct, but in index form. So it's 2 to the power of 1, 2, 3 times by 11. Beautiful. So we go on to our next question, which is on lowest common multiple. So we're told here that as a product of its prime factors, 40 is equal to 2 cubed times 5. Write 50 as a product of its prime factors. So we need to go and write our factor tree. So we can do 5 times by 10 is 50. Circle our 5 because our 5 is a prime number. Then we break our 10 into 2 and 5. So we then write 2 times by 5 times by 5, or it could be 2 times by 5 squared. But the question didn't say in index form, so it's okay to write 2 times 5 times 5. We check. 5 times 2 is 10. 10 times 5 is 50. So we know we are correct. So the next question is a connecting question with part A and B. It says work out the least common multiple, so that's the LCM, of 40 and 50. So remember, we've got them already in their prime factorization form. All we need to do is to see which numbers do we combine together for the lowest common multiple. Now guys, the easiest way to do this without making mistake is to draw a Venn diagram. And we're going to put the common things to both of them in the middle. So let's write 40 here and 50 here. So I'm going to just rewrite the 40 out so that I can cancel common ones. So 2 times 2 times 2. I'm just writing this out instead of keeping it in index form. So 2 times 2, that's 3 2s and a 5. So, and we're going to use this one. So to get that, we're going to cancel out one common one, put that in the middle. Now there's no more 2's that's common, but there's one 5 that's common, so we put that 5 here. What we're going to do, write what's left of 40 in the side for 40 only. So 2 and 2, we put those here. And then there's just one 5 left for 50. So let's check that this is true. There should be in this circle all around, there should be 1, 2, 3 2's and a 5. So 1, 2, 3 2's and a 5. And for the next one, we should have 1, 2 and 2 5's. So we have 1, 2, 2 5's. Now we get our lowest common multiple by multiplying everything in the two circles, and the reason for that is because we cannot repeat the common elements. That's why we put them in the middle. So now if we take everything in the two circles, multiply together, we have now found the lowest common multiple. So 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 5. So let's count 1, 2, 3 2's, 1, 2, 3 2's, and 2 5. Now we need to put that in our calculator. So we're going to do 2 times 2 times 2 times 5 times 5, and the answer is 200. So that's 200 is the lowest common multiple. So it's the smallest number that 40 and 50 can go into. Beautiful. So altogether that was 4 marks. We then move on to our next question. So for the next question, it is forming equations. So we're told here that Graham thinks of a number. So he thinks of a number, he adds 5 to his number, then multiplies the result of that by 7. He then divides, so underline key things, the result of that by 4. Graham gets the answer 28. So that's the answer. Write an equation to show this. Now, first of all, we do not know the number he thought of. So we're going to let the number be x. So let the number be x. Let the number equal to x. So let's go back through the steps now and follow them through. So he thinks of a number, which we said is x. he adds 5 to his number. So that is x add 5. So we check that off. We've done this bit. Now we're told he then multiplies the answer, the result, by 7. So we're going to multiply this by 7. We need to make sure we put the 7 on the outside of the bracket because we're multiplying x plus 5 by 7. So we have to show that we're going to expand our bracket and multiply 7 by both numbers. So let's do that. So 7 times x equal to 7x, and 7 times by 5 is 35. Again, guys, you would use your calculator for 7 times 5. You cannot afford to miss this. Okay, so he then multiplies the result by 7. Let's check that off. He then divides the result by 4. So the result is 7x plus 35. So 7x plus 35 divided by 4. Beautiful. So now we're told that he gets the answer 28. So this, what we've written, is equal to 28. We have now made up an equation to show this. Now, for the next part of the question says find the value of Graham's number. So all the question is asking us to do is to solve the equation we made up. So 7x plus 35 divided by 4 is equal to 28. Remember, this is where we write down what we have and what we need to do. So we have a division by 4. We need to multiply by 4. Now we also have a plus 35. So plus 35, we're going to need to subtract 35. We also have a multiplication by 7. We're going to need to divide by 7. So let's go ahead. We're going to multiply 28 by 4 first. So we're going to have 7x plus 35 on this side. Now times by 4. So let's put that in our calculator. 28 multiplied by 4, and that gets us to 112. Check that off. Now I need to do minus 35. So I'm going to take away 35 from both sides. Calculator paper, 7x is left. So we've got our answer 112 in our calculator already. We now need to subtract 35. And that gets us to 77. So check that off. Last step, we need to divide by 7. So dividing by 7, we get that. This cancels out, leaving us just x. 77 divided by 7, guys, please use your calculator. Do not mess this up. So 77 divided by 7 is 11. So the answer he was thinking of is 11. If you want to know you're correct, just put the 11 back into this equation. So it will be 7 times 11 plus 35. And when you divide by 4, you should get 28. And if not, you need to check again, for you must have made some error. Beautiful. Next question says, Joan thinks of a number, she multiplies it by 2. Then she adds 10 to her answer is 4. So after adding 10, her answer is 4. What was the number she started with? So a different way the question can be worded here. So let's go. She thinks of a number. Let the number be x. So let the number equal to x. So she multiplies it by 2, so x times 2 is 2x. Then she adds 10, so that will be 2x plus 10. And our answer to that is 4, so we're just going to write equal 4. Now we need to solve the equation to find what x is. So we need to take away 10 from both sides. Remember, put that in your calculator, 4 minus 10, so that you will see that you get a negative answer. So 4 minus 10 is equal to minus 6. Last step, we need to divide by 2 on both sides. So x is equal to minus 6 divided by 2. Use your calculator. That's minus 3. So that's the number Joan started with. And again, you can substitute that back in your equation you made up just to see if you get that answer of 4. Beautiful. So now guys, we're moving on. We are now focused on some factorization. We're going to do a little expanding bracket, but we will need to factorize as well. So we're told here that 2 multiplied by x plus 16 plus 4 multiplied by x minus 5 simplifies to a bracket x plus b. We are asked to work out the values of a and b. So our first step is to expand our bracket. So let's just rewrite the question. Plus 16 bracket plus 4 bracket x minus 5. So let's expand. 2 times x is 2x, and 2 times 16, use your calculator guys, 2 times 16 is 32. And then I've got positive 4 times x, which is positive 4x, and 4 times by minus 5 is minus 20. Now I need to collect the like terms. So I'm going to do 2x plus 4x is 6x. And then 32, take away 20, you put that in your calculator, and that's equal to 12. Now I need to factorize to get it in that form. So the highest common factor of 6 and 12 is 6. So that goes on the outside of the bracket. 6 times x gives me 6x, and 6 times 2, so in bracket. So they ask us to find the value of a. A is outside the bracket, so a is 6. And they've asked me to find the value of b. B is inside the bracket, so b is 2. Wonderful. Now we're asked here to factorize fully. X cubed minus 49x. Remember, when a question says factorize fully, this means we must take the highest common factor of all the terms. So we look here, we've got x cubed and minus 49x. The highest common factor of x cubed and minus 49x is x. In the bracket, we now have x squared. Remember, x squared times x gives us x cubed. And then we need to do minus, we've got 49. However, if we look here, this is the difference of 2 squares. Difference of 2 squares. So we can factorize this in 2 brackets again. The square root of x squared is x. We put 1 here and we put 1 there. Square root of 49 is 7, because 7 times 7 make 49. So 7 here, 7 there. One bracket will have a plus and the other bracket will have a minus. Now guys, for your extended practice on difference of 2 squares, you need to make sure you watch this video. Make sure you watch this video here. That will help you with some more additional practice on factorizing quadratics or factorizing expressions with 2 squares involving the difference of 2 squares. So our final answer will be x, then x plus 7 and x minus 7. So we go and check again. X times x squared is x cubed, and x times minus 49 is minus 49x. But this is the difference of 2 squares, so we had to factorize in 2 brackets. So we move along. Factorize fully 12t plus 4t cubed. So again, we look at the numbers first. The highest common factor of 12 and 4 is 4. And the highest common factor of t and t cubed is just t. So now we need to get back to 12. So what times 4 make 12? That's 3. We've got the t already, so we don't need to write t inside the bracket. We just need to put our plus back. What times by 4t make 4t cubed? We've got 1t on the outside already. So now we need t squared. So it's 4t bracket 3 plus t squared. We can write that on the answer line again. So 3 plus t squared. Beautiful. Next question is similar, but because we've got a coefficient and also a variable, so we got to make sure we break it apart. So highest common factor here, we've got 10a squared plus 25a. Highest common factor of 10 and 25 is 5. Highest common factor of a squared and a is a. So now we need to get back to 10a squared. So what times 5 makes 10? That's 2. What times a makes a squared? That's a. Plus, what times 5 makes 25? That's 5. We've already have the a on the outside, so we are finished with that one. So it's 5a bracket 2a add 5. Beautiful. Now we go on to our next question. So now we are told to factorize these two quadratics, one to factorize and one to solve. Again, guys, I've got a complete lesson on factorizing quadratics with coefficient 1 and also with coefficient greater than 1. So guys, you need to watch this video. Make sure you practice some more questions on using this video here. Okay, so we're asked to factorize x squared plus 8x plus 15. Now I need two factors of 15 that add to 8. So two factors of 15 that add to 8 are 3 and 5. So when I multiply them, I should get 15, but they should add to 8. So 3 plus 5 equal to 8. But 3 times 5 is equal to 15. This is how I know they are correct. Must fit both criteria. So one bracket, so we're going to have two brackets. One will have x plus 3, and the other bracket will have x plus 5. And that's how I factorize quadratic coefficient greater than 1. On my answer line, I'll just rewrite what I wrote there, and that's my answer. Now this time we're asked to solve. So we need to get the actual answers for x. The first one, factorize. This one, solve. So again, I focus, coefficient is 1, so I focus on my c term, which is minus 15. So I need to get two factors of minus 15 that when I add them, I get 2. And when I multiply them, I get minus 15. So therefore, the two factors of 15 has to be 2 apart. So the factors of 15 that are 2 apart is the ones we had before, which is 3 and 5. So now I need to decide which one should be positive. So if you look here, I want to have a positive 2. It means that my greater number has to be positive. So the 3 is minus. So let's see, minus 3 plus 5. I have 5, I pay 3. To someone, I will have 2. So it's the same as 5 take away 3, which is 2. Let's times them together and see if we get minus 15. So minus 3 times minus 5, minus 3 times 5 is equal to minus 15. So yes, that's the right number. So let's put them in bracket now. So I will get for one bracket x minus 3, and in the other bracket it will be x plus 5, but that's equal to 0. So all you need to do is to just write the opposite of what's in the bracket, because if x minus 3 is equal to 0, so we're making this bracket here equal to 0 first. So if I solve this, I can just bring 3 to this side, so x is equal to minus 3 to the other side is positive 3. And I do the same for x plus 5, I can see same thing is going to happen. So x is equal to minus 5. So the two solutions are x equal to positive 3 and x equal to minus 5. Make sure that you practice some more on this using the video I suggested. Liking this video will help this channel to grow. So please go ahead and give this video a like. We continue with solving equations. So solve p divided by 3 minus 3 equal to 2. So remember, we need to do the inverse of our operation. So let's just rewrite the question here. So p divided by 3 minus 3 equal 2. So first step, we need to take care of this minus 3 by adding 3 to both sides. So that cancels out. We've got p divided by 3 equal to 2 add 3, which is 5. So now we need to do the inverse of dividing by 3. We're now going to multiply by 3 on that side. So p is equal to 15. Check that off. We now go to the next question, which asks us to solve 5x add 3 is equal to 3 bracket x add 2. So first step, we need to expand our bracket. So let's rewrite that side. 3 times x is equal to 3x, and 3 times 2 is equal to 6. Now we need to collect our like terms. So we're going to put our 3x on this side and our 3 on that side. Remember, change sides, change signs. So this positive 3x will now be minus 3x. We've got 6 left here. This positive 3 is now minus 3. So 5 take away 3 is 2. So 2x is equal to 6 take away 3 is 3. And then final step, we need to divide by 2. So final answer here cancels out, leaving us with x. Half of 3 is 1.5, but a calculator paper, we make sure we put that in. So the answer is 1.5. Beautiful. We move on to proportional reasoning. We're told that at a shop, the normal price of 1 pen is 24p. Normal price. The normal price of 1 calculator is £7. The shop has these special offers. So pens half the normal price and calculators £1.50 less than the normal price. Work out the total price of 5 pens and 1 calculator using the special offer for 4 marks. So we knew the normal price of the pen was 24p. So we're getting them for half the normal price. So we need to do new price for the pens is equal to, so let's just write pens here. The new price will be 24p divided by 2. Put that in your calculator, guys. We can't afford to mess this up. That gets us to 12p. I'm doing it, but I want you to put them in your calculator. So we know 12p is going to be for 1. We want the price of 5. So now we need to do 5 times by 12p. So 12 times 5 is 60. So we're going to have 60 here. So that's 60p. So therefore, we need to move on now to find out what is £1.50 less than 7. I'm just going to start using my calculator so I can go much more quickly. So I need to do £7 take away £1.50. Put that in quickly. So £7 take away £1.50. That gets me to £5.50. Now, because I want the total, I'm just going to add them together. Now, guys, it's very important here. You have your answer in your calculator already. To save time in your exam so that you can finish all the paper, just keep the answer there so that you're going to be using it again. So we just need to do total now. I'm going to just add what I have in my calculator, which is 550 to the 60p. Remember, this is pence, so it's best to write it as 0.60. So plus 0.60, that gets me to £6.10. Beautiful 4 marker there, not difficult to navigate at all. Next, we move on to fractions, decimals, percentages. Very importantly, we need to be able to convert between the 3. So we're given a fraction, a quarter. We've got a decimal to be 0.25. We want to write that as a percentage. So remember, to convert a decimal to a percentage, we can just simply times by 100, moving 1, 2 spaces. So this is just 25%. Take that off. Next, we've got 40%. and we've got it as a fraction, it is 2/5, and we want to convert that to a decimal. So we're going to do the opposite of what we did for the first one. So we're working backwards, so we need to divide by 100 to get 40% to a decimal. So 1, 2, our decimal is here, so that's 0.4. No need to put the 0 at the end, so we check that off. Now we've got here decimal 0.9, percentage 90%. So this is the tens place, so it is simply 9/10. So if you get 9 out of 10 on your paper, you would have gotten 90%, and that's how we convert from our fractions to decimal to percentages. Now we move to our next question, which is speed, distance, and time. So we're told here that A, B, C, D are junctions on a motorway, not drawn accurately. So we can visualize A, B, and B to C, C to D. The distance CD is 3 times the distance AB. Question: do we know the distance AB? No. So let's use that for x. And we know, so AB is equal to x. We're told that CD is 3 times of that. So it's 3 times x, which is equal to 3x. So let's put that on the line, 3x. So let's check this off. We've read that and we have visualized that as well on the diagram. We're told that the distance BC is 25 miles. So from B to C, let's just put that in, is 25 miles. So put that on our diagram. Beautiful. Continue reading. Salma travels, she drives from A to C. So all the way from A to C here. So she drives for 30 minutes at an average speed of 62 miles per hour. So 30 minutes, average speed 62 miles per hour. Work out the distance from A to D, which is all of the distance from the end of the line to the other end. So this is our breaking point. We know that the time she's taken to go from A to C is 30 minutes. So we're going to write that as a decimal. So that's half an hour, which is 0.5. So her time, so that is from A to C. The time is 0.5 of an hour. And the average speed, so our speed is equal to 62 miles per hour. So what we want to get is what is the distance from A to C. So we know that distance is equal to, so let's just draw our triangle. Doesn't matter which one they give you, you'll be able to find it. So distance is always at the top and speed and time at the bottom. So when we multiply the two at the bottom, we get the one at the top. So distance is equal to the speed, which is 62, times by time, which is 0.5. You put that in your calculator. So 0.5 times by 62 is the same as half of 62 anyway. So that is 31 miles. Okay. So from here, from A to C, so visualize it, from A all the way to C here is 31 miles. Which means that we can find the distance from A to B because we know from B to C was 25. So if I do 31, so A to B would be equal to 31, take away that 25 just to get AB only. So 31 take away 25, guys, I cannot stress it enough, use your calculator. That's equal to 6. So I want then one missing bit now. I want to go from C to D, and I knew that was 3 times of A. So I just need to do 3 times by, if A to B is 6, 3 times by 6. So 6 times 3, which is the distance from CD, is equal to 18. Now I have everything to find out the total journey. I've got this 31 from A to C. So it is 31 plus the distance from C to D is 18. Put that in my calculator quickly. 31 plus 18 and that's equal to 49. So the total journey is 49 miles. Good for you. You have the opportunity to rewind this video and watch this question again. Awesome. So we're going to move on to sequences. We're told here that the first two terms of a Fibonacci sequence are 1, 3, and we're asked to work out the fourth term for 2 marks. Now guys, remember when we talk about a Fibonacci sequence, it means that to get your terms, you need to add the first 2 terms together to get the next term. So they've asked us for the fourth term. So this is term 1, term 2, we need to find term 3, hence term 4. So in order to get from term 1 to term 2, so we need to add these 2 together. So 1 plus 3, so I'm just going to rewrite it here. We got 1, 3. 1 plus 3 gets me to the next term, which is 4. Then I need to do 3 plus 4, which gets me to the next term, which is 7. And that's my fourth term. So fourth term is equal to 7. So remember, Fibonacci, add the first 2, you get the next one. Then add the next 2, you get the next one. And that's the progression. So we move on to the next one. The first 2 terms of an arithmetic progression this time is 3 and 9. And we are to work out the fourth term. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So remember, in an arithmetic progression, we are adding or subtracting by the same number. So what did we add to 3 to get to 9? We could do that by 9 take away 3 is 6. So we're adding 6. So now we need to add 6 to 9. 6 plus 9, that's equal to 15. Use your calculator. Then we need to add 6 to 15, which gets us to 21. So fourth term equal to 21. Absolutely brilliant. So we move on to our next question, which is calculating fractions and negative numbers. So first part is our fractions. In each box, write a fraction less than 1 to make the calculation correct. So we've got 3 tenths. We need to think about 2 numbers that we could times together to get to 3, and 2 numbers we could time together to get to 10. But remember, the fractions have to be less than 1. So I'm going to start out with 2 and 5. I know those times together. So if I put 1 here and 3 here, 1 times 3 is equal to 3, and 2 times 5 is 10. So therefore, a half is less than 1, and 3/5 is less than 1. So that was 1 mark. We just need to think really quickly and clearly for that. Next, we're going to simplify our negative numbers. So we're asked here to do -8 plus 25. Remember, when we are doing this, this is the same as 25 minus 8. However, calculator paper, you just simply put that in. So -8 plus 25, that's just get me to 17. Next question, -9 plus -8, put that just as you see it there into your calculator. So that gets us to 17. -17. So 8 plus 8, 16, 1 is 17. Now here is where we've got to be careful. Remember, 2 negatives, we've got 9 minus -2. 2 negatives make a positive. So we're actually adding them together. That gets us to 11. So same principle apply here. We've got -30 minus -16. So that's -30. 2 negatives give us a positive 16. Again, we're putting that in our calculator, so it shouldn't be an issue. So this here is going to be -14. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you so much for making it this far in your revision, guys. Absolutely proud of you as always for investing in yourself. So we're going to move on now to our next question. So we're told that ABDE is a parallelogram. AB is equal to AC. So let's just do that. AB and AC are exactly the same. So straight away, we know that their 2 base angles will also be the same. We're thinking. Now we're asked to show that x is equal to 38 degrees. First thing we need to review, and in part 1 we review the properties of your quadrilaterals, including the parallelogram. So from that we know that the opposite sides in a parallelogram are the same. So this angle is, and it can also be shown on your diagram, so ABC is equal to 68, which means that the other angle here will also be equal to 68 degrees. Now from there we can see here we want to find x. We want to say that x is equal to, we're showing that this angle here is equal to 38. So we can find the angle that's missing in the triangle here because we know these two angles here. So let's call the missing angle y. So y then is equal to 180 take away 82 plus 68. So let's do 82 plus 68 in our calculator. So 82 plus 68 is equal to 150. So 180 take away 150 is equal to 30. So this angle here is 30. Always put your answer on your diagram. That will help to close the gaps. So now then, I need to find out this angle here. I can find this angle here because if these two lines are parallel, then this is an alternate angle. So angles in a Z, which is the alternate angle, is equal to 30 degrees. Beautiful. So therefore we now know these two angles, and we know that the opposite angles in a quadrilateral, in a parallelogram, will be the same. So we're expecting that all of this angle will match to this one here. So let's add 82. So that's angle CDE. So CDE is equal to 82 plus 30. Put that in our calculator. So 82 plus 30 is equal to 112. So all of this angle here is 112 degrees. Now there's just one missing bit for us to fill in. So we know that all of this angle here should be equal to 112, but we don't know this angle, which I'm going to call Z. But we can find it because we know two angles already in this triangle. So Z then would be equal to 180 take away the 68 plus the other 68 at the base here. Put that in our calculator. So 68 add 68, you can just put it all at once. 180 minus 68 add 68, and that's equal to 44. So we're going to put that on our diagram. So this small angle is 44 degrees. Now we have enough information to find out what x is, because x should be equal to, when we add these two, 44 and 30, and take it away from 112, we should get that 38 if we are correct, because we're just proving that it's 38. So let's go. So x should be equal to 112, which is the angle here, and then we're going to subtract the sum of 44 and 30. So 30 plus 44. We'll put that in our calculator now. 112, and we're going to do minus bracket 30 plus 44, and that gets us to 38 degrees. So therefore x is equal to 38 degrees. You can see here that lots of our angle properties came together here, the first of which, opposite angles in a parallelogram are equal. Watch the video again to see what was the development of this question. Absolutely brilliant. So we're moving on to our next question, which is on probability. So we're told here is a fair five-sided spinner. So this spinner is fair, not biased at all. Write down the probability of scoring an even number with one spin. So this should be spin, just a bit cut off here, with one spin. So an even number. So first of all, I just need to count up how many even numbers I have. So I've got 1, 2, 3 even numbers, so probability is written as a fraction, decimal, or percentage. So it's 3 out of 5, so that's 3/5 for 1 mark. Part B asks us to work out the probability of scoring a total of 8. So when we add them together with 2 spins. So we need the probability of scoring a total of 8 with 2 spins. So in order to get that, we can only do 4 plus 4. That will get us to 8 for a total. So what we need to do is to work out what is the probability of scoring a 4. So to score a 4 is just one option out of the 5, and for the other 4 it's also going to be one option out of the 5. So in probability, when I want to get my final answer here, I need to multiply these two together. So I'm going to write 1/5 times by 1/5. So 1 times 1 is 1, and 5 times 5 is 25. So the probability of scoring the total of 8 just by spinning 2 times, it's going to be 1/5 times by 1/5, and that gets me 1/25. So let's just put that on the answer line. Beautiful. So now we're going to move on to the next question. So for the next question here, we're told that a number is picked at random from the first 3 positive odd numbers. A number is picked at random from the first 4 prime numbers. The 2 numbers are multiplied together to get a score. Complete the table. So first of all, I'm thinking I've got my prime numbers. I need to fill in the missing prime numbers. So I've got 2, 3. My other prime number is 5. Going this way is my odd number. So my first odd number is 1. My second odd number is 3. So that's missing. So we're told that we need to multiply to get a score. So we need to do 1 times 2, which is 2. 1 times 3, which is 3. 1 times 5, 5. 1 times 7, 7. 3 times 2 is 6. 3 times 3 is 9. 3 times 5 is 15. And 3 times 7, 21. Next, 5 times 2, 10. 5 times 3 is 15. That was done for you. 5 times 5, 25. And 5 times 7 is 35. So now we have completed the table. All we have to do, guys, remember, this is a calculator paper. Do not take risks. Just multiply using your calculator and then check. So we can see a pattern here. In the last one, we have 5, 10, then 15, and 25. But the next one is 35. So you see, just by checking over, I can see that even though I said 35, I didn't write the correct digit. So it's best to just make sure that you check your numbers. Okay, so we're told for part B, what is the probability that the score is a square number? And then give your answer as a fraction. So we need to go through the table, the ones we filled in here. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So there are 12 options. And we need to get the square number. So we check across. No square number in the first. The second one, we have 9 as a square number. We look again, none here. 25 as a square number. So there is just 2 options for a square number. So that's 2 12s. And then we're going to simplify that. So 2 into itself goes once, and 2 into 12 goes 6. And guys, remember, it's a calculator paper. We could just have put that in our calculator. So that is 1/6 for our final answer for that question. Beautiful. We move on. Now we're asked to circle the ratio, which is the same as the scale 1 centimeter represents 2 meters. So what this means is that we need to write our meters also as centimeters. So 100 centimeters is equal to 1 meter. So that means 200 centimeters then would be equal to 2. So the answer is 1 to 200. Beautiful. Next question says a map has a scale of 1 centimeter to 3 miles. On the map, the distance between 2 towns is 7 centimeters. What is the actual distance between the 2 towns? include your units for your answer. So let's write this down. 1 centimeter to 3 miles. So I'm asked to find 7. What's the actual answer? So 7 centimeters. How do I get from 1 to 7? I need to multiply by 7. So I need to times by 7 also on the other side. So 3 times 7 is 21. Use your calculator. So the answer is 21 miles. Okay, because they've told us to include our units. Awesome. So we move to the next question. We're told here that some buttons are red or blue in the ratio red to blue is 3 to 5. What fraction of the buttons are red? And circle your answer. So first of all, we need to get the total. 3 plus 5 is equal to 8, and we're looking for the buttons that are red. So red comes first, so the ratio that comes first is also for red. So that is 3 out of 8, which is 3/8, and we circle that answer. Next question asks us to write the ratio 5 to 4 in the form n to 1. So let's rewrite this here. Remember, whenever we're writing ratio in the form n to 1, we divide by the number that's on the side of the ratio where 1 is. So I'm just going to rewrite n to 1 here. So I want this side of my ratio to be 1. So I need to divide both sides of the ratio by 4 then, because now 4 divided by 4 get me to 1, and then I have 5/4. I can leave it as 5/4, but it's a calculator paper, so I will not struggle to get the actual answer. So all I need to do is 5 divided by 4, and I can also write that as 1.25 to 1. So either one of these will still be correct. So that's how we write in the form n to 1. Also, you should have revised this in your paper 1 as well. So we go to simplifying ratios. We're asked to simplify fully. So here we need to get the highest common factor. We're asked to simplify the ratio 56 to 24. We need the highest common factor of 56 and 24. However, what if you didn't know that? You could have started with a small number and then keep going until you cannot go anymore. But I can see here that the highest common factor is 8. So I'm going to do 56 and 24, both divided by 8. You put that in your calculator. So 56 divided by 8 is 7, and 24 divided by 8 is 3. So the answer is 7 to 3, and I check that off. Now we're asked now to share 180 pounds in the ratio 1 to 9. Remember, first thing you need to do is to get the total of the ratio part. So 1 plus 9 gives us 10. So we need to find what is 1 part then by doing 180 divided by 10. So 180 divided by 10 is 18. Again, use your calculator. Now, what I need to do, I recognize that 1 part is 18, so the ratio for 1 is 18. I'll just put that there to focus. Now I need to find 9 parts. So 9 parts is equal to 9 multiplied by a part for 1, which is 18. So I'm just going to use my calculator for that. So 9 times by 18, that gets me to 162. I could also have just done 180, take away 18 to get that. So the final answer, it is in the form, it's going to be 18 pounds to 162. Beautiful, guys. Well done for getting this far in your revision. I know you're getting ready to absolutely slay that paper too. Well done. So we're moving on. Our next question is on linear graphs, a very common topic. We talk about the linear graphs all the time. So here we're asked to write down the coordinates of the y-intercept of the line y equal 8 minus 5x. So remember, our linear graph equation is always in the form y equal mx plus c. Now, as a teacher, I can see the gradient here and the y-intercept, but maybe it's best for you to write it in the correct form first. So y equal to, I'm going to put my minus 5x first, and then this 8 is positive, so plus 8. Now, this is in the form y equal mx plus c, and I'm asked to write the coordinates of the y-intercept. So the y-intercept is 8, but whenever we have a y-intercept, the x-axis, the x-coordinate is always 0. So the coordinate is 0, 8. So just quickly let you understand that if the graph passes through y at 8, then we know this is the y-axis, so x here will be equal to 0, 0, so the x-coordinate is 0. So if a question asks you for the coordinate of the y-intercept, you must put 0 for x and whatever you get for the y-intercept in the question. But if it just says write down the y-intercept, you just write the number 8, okay? Now the question also asks us to write down the gradient of the line, the same line. Now because we rearranged it already, remember the m in the formula is the gradient. So the gradient then is minus 5. So we just write m equal minus 5. We check that off, 2 marks. Moving along. Another linear graph question, but the graph is now given. So here is a straight line graph. Write down the coordinates of the y-intercept. So this time we have to identify that from the graph. So the y-intercept is where the straight line meets the y-axis, which is here. So we can see this is a good one to show us why we have to put 0 for x when we're writing the coordinates. So we can see here the point here is 0, 2. So we write 0, 2, check that off. Next question says work out the gradient of the line. So to get the gradient of the line from the graph, we need to make a perfect right angle triangle. So I'm going to make my triangle from here to here. So this graph slopes from right to left, so it has a positive gradient. So from the graph, m for the gradient is y over x. So let's count along for y, 1, 2, and for this bit 1, 2. So this is 2 for y and also 2 for x. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So the gradient m is equal to 1. Now part C asks us to put our answers together. It says use your answers to part A and B to write down the equation of this line. So remember, to write the equation of a line, I need the gradient and the y-intercept. And I must give my answer in the form y equal mx plus c. So y equal m for my gradient, which is 1, with x, and the y-intercept is 2. I can get that from the graph or just from the y-coordinate here, so add 2. But in algebra, we never say 1x. Not wrong, you wouldn't get it wrong, but tidy this up. So y is equal to x, add 2. And that's the equation of that line. You can check that quickly. If you pick this point here, and x is equal to 2, and I add 2 to that, I get 4. I can see that, yes, y is 4. Beautiful. Now we move on to another question, and this question is on simultaneous equation. Now guys, I have just done a worded problem here, and the reason is I have done a complete lesson on simultaneous equations on the channel. So all you need to do is to watch this video. If you watch this video here, you'll be able to practice some simultaneous equations that are not worded problems. Doesn't mean you're going to get a worded problem on your exam tool for simultaneous. It could be any other question, so make sure you watch that video as well. So let's go for the question. We're told here that 4 chocolate, underline that, 4 chocolate bar, and 3 packets of mint cost £4.70. 5 chocolate bars and 1 packet of mint costs £4.50. Work out the cost of a chocolate bar and the cost of a pack of mint. So we're going to make up our equation out of the words. We're going to use C for chocolate and M for mints. So 4 chocolate, that's 4C, plus 3 packets of mint, so 3M, is equal to £4.70. So that's all the things we've underlined. 5 chocolate is 5C, and 1 packet here for the mint, so 1M, we can just write that as M, is equal to £4.50. Clearly we're going to need to use our calculator here. Now remember, to solve simultaneous equation, we need to eliminate either X or Y. We cannot eliminate, this is C and M, we cannot eliminate C, they're different numbers, 4 and 5. The M's are also different. So what I have to do here, if I times this equation by 3, I will get my 2 M's to be the same. So let's multiply this one by 3. So 5 times 3 gets us to 15. So we get 15C plus 3 times M is 3M. And that's equal to, I'll just put this quickly in my calculator. So I've got £4. Give me a second, guys. So I've got 450 times by 3. And 450 times by 3, that is equal to 1350. Now that I've got 3M, I'm just going to rewrite this equation here, put my 2 equations I'm going to use together. So I'm just going to copy the first one here. Now that they are the same, I need to subtract. So let's go. So if I do 15 take away 4, that's 11, so that's 11C. 3 take away 3, that cancels out, equal to, now I need to do £13.50, take away £4.70. So that gets me to £8.80. Now I can find out C by dividing by 11. So put that in your calculator. We have the £8.80 already stored. Now we're going to divide by 11. And that gets us to 0.8. So we found for the chocolate bar 0.8. So that is 80p. So now we've got here, we're going to substitute this, what we got for C, into one of these equations. So let's substitute. Calculator is giving me a bit of trouble here. So sorry about that. So I'm going to use 4C plus 3M. And that was equal to £4.70. So remember, we know the value for C. So let's substitute that in. 4 times 0.8 plus 3M is equal to 470. So multiply that. 4 times by 0.8. Let's do that quickly. That gets us the 3.2. Clearly that's £3.20. Plus 3M equal £4.70. So we need to subtract £3.20 from both sides. So here we get, this cancels out, leaving us 3M equal to, let's subtract 470, take away 320, and that gets us to £1.50. Now we need to just divide that by 3, see how important equations are. So M equal to, just do our £1.50 that we've got in our calculator, divided by 3, that is 0.5. So we can now put that on our answer line. This is now 80p and 50p. Beautiful. So clearly, if you substitute this back into your calculator, into one of the equations, you should balance it off. Absolutely brilliant, guys. Again, I'm proud of you for getting this far in your revision. Liking this video will help this channel to grow. So please go ahead and give this video a like. Now, let's have a look at similar shapes. Triangles ABC and DEF are similar, not drawn to scale. So So we look at our diagrams here. We're told to work out the value of x. Remember, whenever we are working on similar shape, the first concept that could come to our mind is finding the linear scale factor. So we always look for two sides that we know both of the matching pair. So the matching pair here are BC and EF, 3 and 6. So linear scale factor, so the scale factor is equal to 6 divided by 3. So the scale factor is 2. We can see that when we multiply 3 by 2, we get this 6 here. So we want to find the value of x. So we are working backwards then because we know the larger one. So we need to do 9 divided by the scale factor 2, and half 9 is 4.5. Guys, remember, put it in your calculator. So it's 4.9 centimeters. Next, for part B, we're asked to write down the size of angle Y. Remember, as it relates to angles, angles do not change, because we cannot have more than 180 degrees in a triangle. So y is simply also exactly the same as the 53 here. So y is equal to 53 degrees. Beautiful. So we go on to the next question, and this question is on trigonometry. Now guys, I've only done one example here, and that's because I've got a full lesson on trigonometry SOHCAHTOA on the channel. So you need to watch this lesson here. Make sure you watch it so you revise all the 3 trig ratios just in case they come up on your paper. So below is a right angled triangle. So we can see the triangle here. We've got 36, x, and 7. We're asked to use trigonometry to work out the length of x. So we know first step is to go to the angle, and from the angle label the side we want and the side we know. So from here, this is opposite, and the longest side facing the right angle is the hypotenuse. So we've got OH. Remember, SOHCAHTOA. So we're using O and H, so we're using the sine ratio. So let's go and set it up. So sine theta, which is the angle, is equal to the opposite over the hypotenuse. So now we're going to substitute. So sine, the angle given is 36 from the diagram. So sine 36 is equal to the opposite, which is x, divided by the hypotenuse, which is 7. So let's just put x over 1. Remember, when the variable is on top, we need to multiply. So 1 times x is x. And then we need to do sine 36. Put that in bracket, multiply by 7. You must put that 36 in bracket. So now we need to just put that in our calculator. We are multiplying. So sine 36, make sure you close your bracket, and also make sure your calculator is on degrees before you start working at all. As you go into your exam, check it on degrees. So we put that in, multiply by 7. X then is equal to 2 decimal places. I'm going to write the answer, 4.11 centimeters. How do you know you're correct? The smaller side has to be less than the hypotenuse. So I know that approximately has to be true. Beautiful. So now we move to our next question. So this question asks us to work out the area of the semicircle. Give your answer to 1 decimal place. 3 marks. So we know how to find the area of a circle. So if we know how to find the area of a full circle and we want a half circle, clearly we have to find the area of the full circle and divide it by 2. So what if you got a quarter circle? You have to do the full area and divide by 4. What if you got 1/6 of a circle? You do the full area and divide by 6. Okay, so let's find the area of a full circle and then divide by 2 to get just half of the circle. So area is equal to pi times by r squared. So the diameter here is 30. So the radius then, remember it's the radius we need, is half. So 30 divided by 2 is equal to 15. You would have used your calculator for that. So we put that in there. Remember, it must be the radius, so you check. Some questions already give you the radius, but if you get the diameter, you've got to half it. So let's go now. So pi times by 15 squared. let's just put that in our calculator. And also, I would suggest just put divide by 2 straight away, that you don't forget to half your answer. So we put that in our calculator. Pi times 15 squared divided by 2 gets us to 353.4 centimeters squared for 3 marks. Beautiful. So half circle, we need to find the full area, divide by 2. 1/6 of a circle, find the full area, divide by 6. A quarter of a circle, we had to divide by 4. Lovely. So we go on to another question around the circle, but this time a circle in a square. This one is a crossover section. So if the foundation students were scrolling through, they would have seen this also on the higher paper, one of the crossovers. So the diagram shows a circle of radius 5 centimeters inside a square. So let's put that radius in straight away. That's 5. It means then that if I go along here, that side would also be 5. So the total distance across the circle is 10. So that means one side of the square is 10. We put that in. It asks us to work out the shaded area. So it's a square, so this time the side is also 10. Now to find the area of the shaded region, you have to find the area of the total square and then find the area of the circle and then take them away from each other. So let's go ahead and find the area of the square first. So area of square is equal to side times side. Remember, it's area, length times length. So 10 times by 10, which is equal to 100 centimeters squared is the unit. Now we need to find the area of the circle, which we just practiced. The full circle is pi times by r squared. So the radius is 5, so it's pi times by 5 squared. So that gives us 5 times 5 is 25. You could just put that in your calculator nonetheless. So that is 25 pi. So basically the shaded area now, shaded region or shaded area, is equal to 100 that we got for the square, take away 25 pi. That's the most accurate answer. But let's just put it in our calculator and also see what the decimal value or the actual value is if we round it. So put that 100, take away 25 pi. That gets us to 21.46 centimeters square to 2 decimal places. You can just go ahead and put that on your answer line. Remember guys, your answer line is your most important line on that paper, so make sure you write the correct thing on that line. Excellent. So now we're going to move on to drawing a graph, a linear graph. We need to draw it. So complete the table of values for y equal 2x plus 4, and then we're asked to draw that graph. So we're going to first of all recognize here, let me just get my pen back. So complete the table. We have the equation is y equal 2x add 4. So this means that I need to substitute x for minus 1. So y equal 2 times by minus 1 plus 4. Guys, put that in your calculator. So 2 times minus 1 is and then plus 4. That just gives me 2. So I put that here. Then this one was done for me. Now I need to do the other one, which is doing y equal 2 times by 1 instead, and then add the 4. And that gets me, if you put that in your calculator, you will see that y is equal to 2 plus 4, which is 6. You can see that there's a pattern. So 2, 4, 6, the other missing one has to be 8. Beautiful. So now we've got the values for x and y. We just need to draw that on the grid by plotting the point. So that's what it means when it say from minus 1 to 3. See, minus 1, 3. So now let's go. We need to observe the scale. This one is going up in 2 units for 1, but the other one is going up in 2s. Make sure you observe that. So we need to go for x at minus 1. So this is where x is minus 1, and this is where it is 2 for y. So we check that off. We need to do 0 to 4, which is dead on here. Then we need to do 1 to 6, which is here. and then we need to do 2 to 8, which is here, and then we need to do 3 to 10, which is here. Now you will know if you're incorrect because you must have a straight line. Now you need to take your ruler, and I don't have my ruler here, so I'm just going to have to freestyle this one. But you need to take your ruler and draw a straight line through them, and then label the graph y equal, the name of the graph is y equal 2x add 4. Absolutely fantastic here. So we move on to the next question, which is on error intervals. So we're told that the mass of a coin is 8 grams to the nearest gram. Complete the error interval for the mass of the coin. So we need the lower bound and the upper bound. So because it's to the nearest gram, if we've got 8, something must have been here that made us round up to 8. So we are going to add and subtract 0.5. So 0.5. So if we add 0.5 to 8, can put that in your calculator. So we're going to add and subtract. So 8 plus 0.5 and 8 take away 0.5. So when we subtract them, sorry, 8 take away 0.5, just put that in your calculator, and 8 add 0.5, and then you will see that you're going to get 7.5 and 8.5. You just put them on the answer line. So that's your lower bound and your upper bound. Beautiful. Now the next one says that the distance between two cities is 900 kilometers to the nearest 100. So because it's to the nearest 100, we need to divide 100 by 2 to get what we need to add and subtract. So that's 50. So we need to add, complete the error interval for the distance. So we need to add and subtract 50. So 900 plus 50 gets us to 950 for the upper bound, and 900 take away 50 gets us to 850 for the lower bound. And then that's our answer for that question. So now we're going to move on to our next question. So this one gives us a rectangle. We're told that the dimension of the rectangle are shown to the nearest meter. We're asked to work out the upper bound for the area of the rectangle. So first of all, it's also to the nearest meter. So the upper bound will be 13.5. Just like we did in the question before, we need to add 0.5. And the upper bound for the next length, which is 4, that's going to be 4.5. Sorry guys, my throat is just feeling a little bit raspy at the moment. So the area of a rectangle is equal to the length times the width. So because it's a upper bound, we don't need to find the lower bound for that bit. So we just need to do 13.5 times by 4.5. So we're going to just put that in our calculator. So 13.5 times by 4.5, that gets us to 60.75. So we just put that on our answer line. Now the second part asks us to find the lower bound for the perimeter of the rectangle. So if the upper bound was 13.5, if we do 13 take away 0.5, the lower bound is 12.5. And for the other side, the lower bound, so let's write LB, the lower bound will be 3.5 for this side. What we know about the sides of a rectangle, opposite sides are the same. So this side will be 12.5 for the lower bound as well, and 3.5 on the other side. So basically what we can do is to just double these two lengths. If we double 12.5 and double 3.5 and add them together, we will now get the perimeter. So let's go. We need to do 12.5 times by 2. So put that in our calculator. 12.5 times by 2 is 25. And then we need to do 3.5 as well, times by 2. And that gets us to 7. So we've got the 7 on our calculator. Let's just plus 25, and that's equal to 32 centimeters. So our answer is 32 centimeters for the lower bound of the perimeter. Absolutely brilliant. Now we're almost there now, guys. So we're going to go to simple interest, and then after that we have just one question to wrap up our revision session. Brilliant. So we're told here that Sammy invested £400 for 2 years at 5% per year simple interest. So £400, 2 years, 5% per year simple interest. Work out the total interest Sammy gets. So to calculate simple interest is equal to, so this will take us straight to the answer, the principal multiplied by the rate, and we're going to write the rate as a percentage. So we're going to put the rate over 100, but I'll just put the entire fraction over 100 multiplied by the time. So the rate is going to be over 100. You can see here we've got 5%, which indicates 5 out of 100. So we're going to substitute our values in. So the interest will be the principal, which is what we start with. So that's 400 times by our rate, which is 5%. So that's 5. That's where we get the 100 at the bottom, 5 out of 100. Times by the time, and this was 2 years. So we're going to put all of that in our calculator. We get 400 times by 5 times by 2 divided by 100, and the answer is £40. So the interest would be £40. So you look out for a question where they'll ask you for the total. You would have now added the 400 with 40, but no, this question asks just for the interest. Next question says Caroline invested £700 for 3 years. So underline 3 years, 2% per year for simple interest. Work out the total interest. So again, good opportunity to embed this. So your interest, principal times by rate as a percentage times by our time. So 700 times by 2 over 100 multiplied by the number of years is 3. We put that in our calculator to get our interest. So 700 times by 2 times by 3 divided by 100 gets us to £42 interest. Absolutely brilliant. So our final revision question, guys, yes, we've made it to the end, is on mean. So John has 8 horses. They have a mean height of 160 centimeters. John buys a 9th horse. The height of this horse is 142 centimeters. Find the mean height of all 9 horses. So the first step we need to take here is to work back and find the total height for all of the 8 horses he had before. So we know that the mean was 160. So if I do 160 times by 8, I can find out what was the total before I found the mean. So let's go to do that. 160 multiplied by 8. So 160 times by 8. That's equal to 1,280. Brilliant. So now I need to add up the other one that joined to the total. So, and then I will divide now by 9. So let's add the new horse that came in. So the new total is equal to 1280 plus the new total is 142. I've already got that in my calculator. So I just need to add 142, and that I get 1422. Beautiful. So now we can find the mean. Remember, mean is the total of all the numbers divided by how many there are. So 8 plus the new horse will be 9. So 9 horses. So we're dividing by 9. So we just need to do 1422 divided by 9, and that gets us to 158 centimeters. So the new mean will be 158 centimeters. Foundation and higher students, maybe the higher students won't have gotten to the very end, but guys, I am really proud of you for taking the time to revise for your paper 2. Absolutely fantastic. Remember, you need to make sure that you like the video. I wouldn't imagine you get this far and not like the video yet. And also make sure that you share it with your friends in your school, also with students who are not in your school as well, who are in year 10 higher or foundation. And also remember that there are questions on TikTok that you will benefit from as well. Now guys, I cannot stress it enough how proud I am of you and that you are a part of this upgrade family where we are brilliant by numbers. So guys, thank you so much for watching.